2025. We have a quorum here, and we're...
Microphone closer to you, Mayor.
Yeah. Now, how could I forget that? I'm always telling people get closer to them. All right. How about, you want me to start over again so it's on the record, or did we get it all?
We got it. Meeting's called to order.
Okay. And we do have a quorum, but we're going to go through the roll call. Let's do that first, please.
Mayor Minto.
Here.
City Manager Gary Halbert. Here. Sheriff's Department Captain Hernandez.
Here.
Institute for Public Strategy David Shorey.
Here.
CASA Donna Colbert.
Here.
Linda Roach.
Here.
Dr. Mark Foreman.
Here.
Steve Stellman.
Here.
And our honorary member, Danette McLagan.
Here.
Mayor, we do have a present quorum with 8 voting members.
Whew. Great. All right. So we have to approve February 10th, March 10th, April 14th, May 12th, and June 9th, 2025.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that was Steve on the second. All right then. I'll call the. We're going to take them all at once. So call the roll on voting, please.
Mayor Minto.
Yes.
City Manager Gary Halbert.
I have to abstain. I wasn't here for most of these meetings.
I mean, in all honesty, what you would be doing is a ministerial approval saying that staff that you
You're
believe.
okay with me?
Yes.
Then I'll say aye.
Sheriff's Department Captain Hernandez.
Yes.
Institute for Public Strategy David Shorey.
Gladly, yes.
CASA Donna Colbert.
Aye.
Linda Roach.
Aye.
Dr. Mark Foreman.
Aye, noting that I was absent for April and June.
Okay.
Now, you can still vote aye, though.
Steve Stellman.
Aye.
That motion carries with voting members present.
Thank you very much. That takes us to item number 3, which is updates on neighborhood watch and crime prevention.
Good
What's up,
afternoon.
Sarge?
I'm Sergeant Lorenzo Ortiz from the Santee Sheriff's Station. I'm filling in for Christina Cheney today. She wanted me to pass along some information to you folks regarding the safety alerts that she has passed out to the businesses regarding burglaries and our recent e-bike safety course coming up, safety presentation coming up in July. So I'll go ahead and pass those out for you guys to view. And then she also wanted me to mention that we will be holding our National Night Out here in the city of Santee. It'll be August 8th at TCP East from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
You know, you're going to do that in the parking lot, or probably? Yeah. Excellent.
I have a question about the National Night Out. Is there still space for that? We were wanting to table but never got information about that.
We can give you Christina's contact info. I'm sure there is. I mean, the venue is large, so I don't see why we couldn't accommodate you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
As I look at this safety alert right off the top, it tends to scream of some of the local break-ins that we've had some of our bars lately and whatnot, about not leaving cash in the register, move security points, video surveillance, all the things that are helping now to solve those cases. So, looks familiar. Good. Carl, you have anything, questions on that? Well, it doesn't matter, I'm just calling you.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions.
Okay, come on up.
I don't know if I can number 3, because you're probably going to answer them, but I may have asked this question before, but yeah, I pay attention to crime and safety in my neighborhood. I'm starting to see more assault-type arrests, which is both good and bad. I mean, good that there's an arrest, bad that there's an assault in the first place. One of the ID'd as assault was later described as indecent exposure. So I'm not sure how that tracks. But what I'd like to know is if there's any way to get any additional information. On calls for service, it lists an event number. Is there someplace to go to find out a little? I mean, you know, I know it's just something that's happened or possibly an arrest, but I mean, bottom line is I want to know if I need to start carrying again when I'm walking my dog in my neighborhood.
Sure. Our public-facing website has an option for you to submit a public records request. So you can go through that and input the CAD number, which is the event number, and then you can get some more information on that.
Cool.
But to give you a little peace of mind, Santee is one of the safest cities when it comes to assaults. The majority of them are people that know each other. Stranger assaults are rare.
Oh, and I agree with that 100%, but still, if you're getting assaulted, that doesn't matter.
Sure.
So where was that again?
It's on our website, so I don't know the exact address, but if you Google SD Sheriff, it should come up.
Okay.
And then one of the options within that menu should be submitting a California Public Records request.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I wanted to know.
That was easy. Yeah. Anything else, Sarge?
Nothing else for number 3.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys have any questions? Committee? All right then, moving right along. Let's go to item number 4. This is the Sheriff Department e-bike presentation. Actually, this is actually a portion of that e-bike presentation. I appreciate you, whittling that down from the 2.5 hours the last time.
I'm sure you enjoyed every minute of it. All right. Mr. Mayor, distinguished committee members, thank you for having me. My name is Deputy Drake, and I am a motor deputy in the city of Santee. I spent about the last 6 years in the North Coastal Station, which tends to have a much higher e-bike population, so I became pretty familiar with e-bikes up there. And I do see them from time to time down here as well. So I just wanted to go through a very short presentation to talk about what is an e-bike, some of the common crashes that we see, and some other items revolving around e-bikes. And then I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have after, time permitting, of course. So, simply put, what is electric bike? And that's basically, it's a bike with pedals that's propelled by an electric motor with 750 watts or less. There are 3 different types of e-bikes, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about where you can ride them, where you can't, some age limitations, mainly involving helmets, some rules of the road, and then some legislative updates for 2025 and 2026 surrounding e-bikes. So, the first type of e-bike is a Class 1 e-bike. It goes no faster than 20 miles an hour. It's electric motor, 750 watts of power or less, and it does not have a throttle. That being said, in 2026, the industry's been a little bit more regulated. But in saying that, they're also allowing a throttle, which will allow the bike to get up to 3 or 4 miles an hour initially, and then you have to keep pedaling from there. And that's even on a Class 1 e-bike. So it doesn't have a throttle that'll take them all the way to 20 miles an hour, but it will allow people to get up and moving and then keep pedaling the rest of the way, which is what we want with a bike, right? I mean, you're there partially to exercise. I think the whole reason, and this is just me talking behind the e-bike initially, was just to, hey, get out there, do some work, get some exercise, and when you hit the hill, that's what the e-bike's for. So, Class 2 e-bike is a low-speed throttle-assisted bike. So it has a throttle, and it can reach a top speed of 20 miles an hour. And then Class 3, which is, I guess, the big daddy of the 3 bikes, is a maximum speed of 28 miles an hour, pedal assist, no throttle. So to get up to that speed, you have to pedal up to 28 miles an hour. Now, there are some variations with these bikes between class 2 and 3 where you can pedal or use the throttle up to 20 miles an hour, and then above 20 miles an hour to go any faster, you have to start pedaling. And these also are going to have the throttle up assist. So they really have no throttle, but they are going to have the 4 mile an hour to get you up and moving option, especially starting in 2026. So some common crashes, the most common crashes involving e-bikes, and I'm pulling this not only from Santee, but just from my experience working in North Coastal cities where we had a lot of e-bike collisions. And then your most typical e-bike crashes are inexperienced riders, typically younger riders, with passengers. Because when you add all that weight to the back of the bike, it changes the dynamics and how to ride. They're not comfortable with that, and they take off too quick. And next you know, your passenger's off the bike or they're both down on the ground. And what are they wearing? Shorts, short sleeve shirts. So that's typically the type of injuries you see. The most common injuries are road rash injuries involving e-bikes. And then as far as motor vehicle collisions goes, in my opinion, the most common type of crash is what's called the right hook. As everybody knows, when you're driving a car, or should know, and if there's a bike lane, when you go to make a right turn, you're supposed to briefly enter the bike lane before your turn, and then make your right turn as close to the curb as practicable. With e-bikes, and all bikes, that serves also as a kind of a safety measure. Now the bike is in the bike lane. Hopefully the bike's way behind them. They see the car is entering the bike lane. They either slow down or they legally go around the car. But those are the most typical types of collisions we see. And it's mostly, especially with e-bikes, it's your younger riders and it's rider inexperience. It is the cause of most crashes. Or the car's fault for cutting off the bike. But is it easy to see a bike when it's coming at 20 miles an hour in the bike lane? Not always. So as a responsible bike rider, you want to make sure you kind of anticipate what's going on ahead of you so you can avoid any collisions yourself. Oh boy, here's a big chart. Basically what this chart boils down to is you look at the helmet section there. In my opinion, everybody should wear a helmet when they're on a bike. However, under the 17 years and under, everybody has to wear a helmet. Over the age of 17, you only have to wear a helmet if you're on a Type 3 e-bike, meaning the e-bike that goes over 20 miles an hour. So over 20 miles an hour, doesn't matter how old you are, you have to be wearing a helmet. And then 17 and under, everybody has to wear a helmet. Simply put, not an e-bike, okay? It's an e-motorcycle. These are Surons or Telerias. These bikes can go 40 to 60 miles an hour. As you notice, there's no pedals on them. However, some people are misinformed, and we're working on that with doing our e-bike forums, getting parents educated, getting everybody we possibly can educated that there's a lot of technology. It's advancing very quickly. And even with e-bikes that are technically legal, you add too many batteries to them or go on YouTube and find out how to modify them, they're now e-motorcycles. As you can see, these don't have pedals. So that's right there. It tells you it's not an e-bike. And in order to ride, you can't ride these on the road. And in order to ride them on the road, they would have to be legally registered, which is awfully hard to get DMV to do. You have to be wearing a motorcycle helmet, and you have to be fully insured. Can you ride these in the bike lane? No. Can you ride them on the sidewalk? No. Have you seen them in the bike lane? Yes. Have you seen them on the sidewalk? Yes. And that's where we're working on talking to some of these mostly younger riders I've noticed, is talking to them and telling them, listen, this is a desert thing only. You can't be riding these on the roads, and hopefully the warning the first time takes care of it, and then there could be some progressive work ahead if we keep seeing the same person over and over. Riding restrictions, okay? E-bikes, for the most part, can ride everywhere just a standard human propulsion bike can go. There's really no differences, with one exception. The Class 3 e-bikes that go over 20 miles an hour, they cannot be on separated bikeways unless there's a sign permitting them to be there. So for the most part, Class 1 and 2 e-bikes can go anywhere a human bike can go unless prohibited by another code. Class 3 e-bikes, they can go anywhere except a separated bikeway. Rules of the road. So bikes, e-bikes, cars, they all have to follow the same rules of the road, including some of the most poignant ones here are ride as close to the curb as practical when it's safe. You may leave the bike lane to pass other riders or avoid obstacles. You may leave the bike lane or enter the roadway to turn left. However, a new law became in effect the beginning of this year, 2025, where a bike can ride their bike across the crosswalk. And I'm telling you, if I'm riding across a busy intersection on a bike or an e-bike, I'd actually feel more comfortable just riding up to the crosswalk, pushing the button, wait for it to go, and then just ride across the crosswalk, avoiding pedestrians, of course, myself. And especially with the younger riders, even though it's not my job to teach people how to ride their bikes, the Bike Coalition has some really good classes, and when they teach younger riders to ride, this is one of the tools they give them in their toolbox, because otherwise the only way to legally make a left turn from the bike lane is to merge across however many lanes of traffic there is and get to that left turn pocket, which this is pretty good, which may or may not cycle for you when you get there. So then you're in another position. So, hey, go up to the crosswalk, cross there legally. You must use the bike lane, unless there is no bike lane, and then it becomes a share lane. And yes, the bikes do share that lane legally with the cars. And in my opinion, hopefully the bike riders are already wearing bright colors to be noticed, but also, in my opinion, they should be riding in the middle of the road so that the cars could see them and pay attention to what's going on in front of them and behind them as best as possible. So here's the good stuff. So effective 2025, the state of California did give the county and the cities the ability through ordinance or resolution to prohibit those under 12 years of age from operating an e-bike, but it must be done by the city or the county. And that provision is kind of handled like helmet tickets, where that violation is handled through diversion. And in fact, I don't know if you've heard, but I believe it was 2 days ago, Chula Vista passed an ordinance on e-bikes, which involves several different components. And I think they did some good things over there. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask me. But they do have an ordinance that's regulating no passengers under the age of 18. E-bikes can't be on any roads over 40 miles an hour. And no children under the 12 years or under are able to ride an e-bike, or what they call a micro-mobility vehicle, like scooters or pretty much anything with wheels. And everybody has to wear a helmet, and under the age of 18, no passengers. So there are options out there. We do the best we can when we get out there and contact the young riders, especially in and around the schools, to remind them the most important thing, to wear the helmets. That's where you get your biggest bang for your buck. And also, just to mention, talk about what I was talking about, e-bikes and modifying them. Effective 2026, bikes with the manufactured ability to exceed 20 miles an hour or 750 watts, meaning if you could go onto a bike and change the settings, and it's possible to throttle that bike above 20 miles an hour, it's now illegal. They can't be sold. So after 2026, we're taking a step in the right direction to where these bikes now get out on the street. At least, hopefully, kids are pretty smart, but hopefully they won't be able to modify these bikes much above what they're designed for. So, thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions? Sure.
Steve?
You just made a comment about micro-mobility
Yes.
devices and an age restriction. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the city of Chula Vista, and there's definitely a bunch of different laws that have been signed the last couple of years, and some are pilot projects, and some are for an indeterminate period of time. But I believe Chula Vista's interpretation was Under 12 years of age, you can't ride an e-bike. But for the other micro-mobility devices, it doesn't matter how old you are as long as you're wearing a helmet. But they can't be on a e-bike 12 years or younger.
Yeah, just to follow up, micro transportation has a little bit of a different meaning from jurisdiction to jurisdiction
Yes.
to jurisdiction. And so that's why wherever you're going, it's almost not fair because let's say that let's say you're in Chula Vista and you find out what all the rules are, and then you go over to San Diego or maybe even Santee or Encinitas, and suddenly they have a different rule there. And now what you're familiar with may not be legal where you went to. Remember like in the old days, curfew.
Right.
Some places were 10 o'clock, some were 11. Sometimes it moved during the summer months until we made that in the entire county the same age. Because why would it, it's also not fair to parents. Think they're doing the right thing. They know what the rules are, and all of a sudden it changes on them. So that's probably something that'll have to be dealt with at a later date, but
Yeah,
interesting.
I got excited when I read this. The micromobility thing, to your point, was a little bit confusing for me, but at the end of the day, I was focused on the e-bike part. And the fact that they're regulating e-bikes in that way through the laws they were given, I'm happy to see that some of these new laws are being used.
Yeah, good. Dave?
Just to confirm, because I didn't see it in your presentation, that these e-bikes, as with vehicles, need to stop at stop signs and red lights.
Exactly, yes. Yes.
That doesn't mean going around the corner so you can avoid it.
Right, right. And then is it 8 feet or 6 feet that a vehicle needs to avoid a bike, provide space, the new?
3 feet.
3
So,
feet?
yeah, so
Okay.
you can't pass a bike any closer than 3 feet.
Okay.
So 8 feet would be great, but the roadways just aren't that.
Right, yeah, well, yeah.
3 feet works.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Now that I've seen a picture of the e-motorcycles, I
Yeah,
kind of wished I was younger and
I know.
would have had one of those. But anyway, have you been seeing, or has law enforcement been seeing in general, increased fatalities or serious injuries related to e-bikes? And then this term of micro, whatever it was, is kind of new to me. That I see youngsters zipping around Santee about as fast as they can on an e-bike on what looks like electrified scooter. And I look at those, and scooters are dangerous anyway, and I go, wow, the chances of a fatality on that is pretty high, I would think. So I'm kind of curious of the serious injuries and the fatalities, not just in Santee out in this part of the county, but around the county-wide maybe.
well, I don't have the specific numbers for you, but I haven't noticed a major uptick in fatalities compared to just regular road bikes. The problem is the California Highway Patrol just recently added e-bikes to their reporting. So it's been hard to get that information anyway. However, every fatality is something we don't want. And I think we had a couple in Encinitas while I was there. As far as the micromobility goes, the mayor's right. That's kind of a difficult term. So I like to focus just on e-bikes. But as far as serious injuries goes, I have noticed, just off the top of my head, a 30 or 40% increase in those road rash type collisions we'd see in rider inexperience, just because there's more kids riding bikes again. So of course the crashes are going to go up, and that's a good thing. I'm glad the kids are riding bikes again, but some of them are just riding too fast.
More of a comment than I think
Yeah.
a question. E-bikes are the only mode of transportation where I've seen adults, probably in their 40s, just fall off of them. I've never seen, in all the years I was doing law enforcement or whatever, I never saw anybody just fall off a bicycle other than as a comedy shtick on Laugh In or something like that. That's an old TV show.
Right. I'm with you on
to
that
watch, I saw it happen twice in Santee where the adult just fell off of it for no apparent reason other than maybe they didn't know what they were doing. So So that experience level is probably something that gets beyond your control, I'm guessing.
Well, you're absolutely right. It is the experience level, but it's also buying the right bike. So I would hope when people go to purchase a bike that they would go to a local bike shop, look at what they have, and make sure they're buying the right bike for their ability level, and then getting to learn and taking the rider courses through the San Diego Bike Coalition or a similar organization to get used to that thing for where you're riding it out on the road.
Yeah, you know, I can address that because, you know, I've been on that e-bike for almost 4 years, almost over 6,000 miles. And I can tell you that what happens is a lot of people will buy their bicycles, you know, online from some company. It's like, you know, put the battery in, charge the battery, put the battery in, and go ride your bike. Well, that doesn't really prepare. It's immediate torque, and it will sometimes, if depending on the roadway, could be gravel, could be sand, could be a lot of different things. I know when you rode a motorcycle, they taught you that you look down to make sure you don't put your feet in, right? You don't put your feet in sand, gravel, or oil. So, but nobody teaches that bicyclist to do that. And so they tend to just, I've seen them just fall over. You're right. It's funny. Well, for me, it's funny anyways. So, because that kind of described what you're seeing in.
Yeah, one was individuals coming up to an intersection. It's like they just forgot to put their feet down. The other one was coming down a hill. It wasn't a super steep hill, but it was just coming down a hill. And I look in my mirror and I see the partner coming back and picking them up off the roadway. There's no other traffic around. It was just them on the roadway. Yeah. But, you know, never know.
That's mostly just inexperience. Yeah. Inexperience. Or it could be something in the roadway that they hit that caused them to go down. That's actually happened to me. Well, you know, we've all been, I know, anybody else been on motorcycles besides the three of us? Yeah, I mean, there's always something in the roadway that can cause an, you know, collision. And, you know, there's two types of motorcyclists, those who have fallen and those who are going to fall. So careful out there. All right, any questions or comments? Any from Peanut Gallery down here?
If I may, regarding the e-bikes, I am the traffic supervisor for Santee, and I will say that I have seen a number of increasing collision reports come across my desk regarding e-bikes. And then also just a side note that the City of Chula Vista ordinance, unfortunately, 2 days after it passed, a child did lose their life in an e-bike collision in the Otay area. So I believe that the cities being able to have that ordinance eventually will help them in the long run. It's not something we can fix right this moment, but I think it's a good start for all cities and counties to be able to regulate that as well from a safety point, rather than just trying to be the mean person on the road and regulating them.
I think we had an e-bike accident involving a death on Woodside in the last year.
Yes, sir. We did have one e-bike fatality on Woodside. It was an older gentleman who rear-ended a parked vehicle. And it could have just been not familiar with the e-bike itself. But these are dangerous, like the mayor mentioned, mostly because of the torque.
Yeah.
So not being able to get used to that torque.
Great. All right, if there's nothing else.
Mayor.
Oh.
Oh. I just want to know, first of all, not just stop signs and traffic lights, but all laws. They have to obey all laws. Because I've been going down the street and had an e-bike pass me, and I was going the speed limit, which I admit is rare. But I got a 15-year-old kid going by me at 60 miles an hour coming down Fanita in the middle of the street. Can you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, you bet. That your specific question or the actual forum that's coming up this weekend? Related to you said 60 miles an hour? Probably because it wasn't an e-bike. It was one of those e-motorcycles. So, yeah.
You can get going pretty doggone fast coming downhill, though.
Yeah.
True. And that's an important point also. Just because the bikes are regulated at 28 miles an hour doesn't mean you can't keep pedaling when you're going downhill. The bike will not slow itself down. So you can get going 35, 40 miles, but so can just a, road bike with no assist as well. So, and it's scary. And I never thought in my career that it would come to a point where I actually might have to pull a bike over for speeding, but that day could be coming. And that's why we're doing the community forum on Saturday, is to get this information out to parents and those interested in e-bikes before they start buying them. Make sure they buy them from the right place. Make sure they take the right classes and don't just assume that they rode a BMX bike in 1980 and loved the movie Rad, right? And that they could jump on this thing so many years later and do it safely without proper preparation.
Carl, do you have a question? Comment? Come on up.
Come on, Carl.
Sorry. So this is kind of touchy for me because I have a real good friend of mine that whose son was killed on an e-bike up in Carlsbad or something like that. And I believe the one you referred to, he was actually on a scooter, the one that got pinned under the car. Oh, well, now you got a fatality with a scooter too then. Real quick, Encinitas, Carlsbad, and recently Del Mar have all passed ordinances on these things. Chula Vista just did. There's a really good article in today's paper about it. Does Santee have one?
No.
Is Santee thinking about doing one?
Yes.
Okay. Because, key comment there, riders must obey all rules of the road. How many 12-year-olds know the rules of the road? Okay. I've been riding motorcycles and driving cars all my life. I've had to take tests. I have to have a license. And here we throw these things out there and give them to anybody and say, here, kid, have fun. So, to me, this is just incredibly bad judgment on manufacturers and government's part to just throw these things out there. A lot like, and you and I talked about this last week, a lot like when they threw them Lime bikes and scooters out there without even thinking about what could happen. You could take the best of your conditions, but how often does that happen?
Carl, I'm going to add one line to what you said about the 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I see an awful lot of 50 and 60-year-olds doing the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what? They're supposed to know better.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, putting that on a 12-year-old, or if we don't have any ordinances, that means, correct me if I'm wrong, an 8, 9, 10-year-old could be riding the Class 1 or the Class 2.
That's true. But they still have to follow California state law.
Right, and there is no minimum age requirement in California state law. I just looked it up before I came to this meeting. So, I hope you guys are going to consider it and put something into place. I have a couple kids in my neighborhood that ride these things all the time. One of them loves going down the street like this, but she's always wearing a helmet. When she comes to an intersection, comes to a complete stop and looks. So she just strikes me as just having a good time. But I think these things are dangerous. Walking my dog on walker last week, almost got hit by, I don't know, it was Class 1, 2, or whatever. Part of the biggest problem is you can't hear them. You're walking along, sometimes I got my dog on a short leash, sometimes I'm letting him go sniff the fence post, and all of a sudden this guy comes out of nowhere. So I hope you're going to consider doing that. I think that anybody that wants to ride an e-bike should be, I'm not expecting a driver's license, but there should be a test and a certificate. Parents don't know what their kids are doing for most of the time. They teach their kid, okay, you can't do this, can't do that. Well, that just tells them to go do that. I know that's the way it was with me. First thing I did was go out and build me a ramp with my bicycle. They didn't have e-bikes back then. So that's just it. I have a lot of concerns about this thing. And they've been around for a while, but I really think some control needs to be put into place.
Yeah. Thanks,
That's
Carl.
it. Oh, I would be interested in knowing how many people actually show up at your little seminar.
All right.
Whether it's just, kids or if it's just parents and then they just go back and tell their kids and the kids don't do it anyway.
Well, I know the one that I went to, there was probably about 12 or 15, and parents and their kids together.
12 or 15?
I think it was something like that. It wasn't well attended because it was the first one, I think. Yeah.
All right, yeah. I mean, we got a lot more than 12 or 15.
Oh, I
e-bikes.
know. You guys start somewhere, though.
Yeah, Mayor, we actually had a good turnout, and you were in the crowd. We did have a good turnout for our first one, and we plan to continue to have these presentations. We want to get the word out. Safety.
And I'll just finish with this, is that the three ordinances that came down from North County, and the Encinitas one, I helped draft it. And that was simply basically a way to allow us to enforce the vehicle codes and the laws that always exist, not adding any, not changing any. It allowed us to enforce those through an ordinance and then allow the young riders to go through diversion instead of having to go to court and deal with a ticket. And then that way they just satisfy it by doing local bike education. And those three ordinances, it was more of an awareness piece as opposed to what Chula Vista's done. It was just to help us enforce the law and not have to send them to traffic court, because who likes going to traffic court?
And it is true, which it is, that driving or riding while intoxicated is a DUI.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the crashes, especially in and around bars, on e-bikes are related to alcohol. They are not a substitute for a safe ride home. In fact, you can get a DUI on a bicycle. And if you hit somebody on a sidewalk and you're driving under the influence under a bicycle, the argument can be made that at that point is a motor vehicle. So people need to think about that. It's not a safe ride home if you've been drinking.
Buzz biking is drunk driving.
Right.
Mark?
Might be splitting hairs, but I remember in the code it was motor-driven cycle, which would cover mopeds. Is there like a delineating line where motor-driven cycle just kind of goes by and it's just an e-bike?
That's why these changes are coming in 2026. They're codifying the fact that it's anything above 750 watts is not an e-bike anymore and is a motor vehicle, registered or unregistered. A moped for DUI purposes is still considered a motor vehicle. Bikes are a little bit different class, but it's still a DUI.
So if you want to stay out of that classification, if you buy a Pedigo, it's only a 749 watt.
I'll walk.
Shameless plug. So, is that it? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that takes us to item number 5, community core values. You guys have anything on that? No meetings or anything? Okay.
As I recall, isn't it the city's supposed to also be updating us on how they're doing on that?
Yeah, well, since we have a change in our management, things are kind of a little bit of awry.
Okay.
And so we've got to get caught up on
I'll
some
encourage the catching up.
things. Yeah. You're what?
I will encourage the catching up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I apologize for not having been here in June, but I did watch it. I did watch the recording, and I would like to thank Anne for the summary that she gave of the Discovering Your Community event that was held earlier in the year. And I appreciated the emphasis on the commitment to incorporate or integrate the community core values in all of the Santee activities. So I just wanted to express my appreciation for that, and I look forward to seeing how the community core values are going to be promoted in upcoming Santee activities.
Great. Thanks. Okay. Let's. You have anything on that? Okay. Let's go on to communication from committee and staff. Let's just start down here. Danette, anything for us? Linda?
Actually, just by way of a follow-up, since I wasn't here in June, I just wanted to give a quick report on the participation of the Pride Walk that was held the last day of May by the Santee United Methodist Church. It was highly successful. We had several vendors that were actually there. We had some very inspirational speakers. There were no incidents whatsoever, and the number of individuals that attended is increasing. It's increased every year that we've been holding it. So we're already in the midst of planning next year's.
Great, thanks. You know, I forgot about the Pride March because I couldn't be there this year. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm sorry, Mark, did you have anything? David?
Nothing for me.
I do have a couple things, sir. I wanted to bring up one point, our viewpoint really from the e-bike perspective. We get some calls for service about, you know, kids on e-bikes and just riding crazy, or we see it ourselves sometimes, right? And we try to enforce what we can. Sometimes these kids don't respect the patrol cars and they don't yield and they take off, right? One thing that I wanted to convey to the public is that it's very high liability for us to chase a child on an e-bike, right? We could scare them into running a stop sign or into losing control and then injuring themselves seriously. So we try not to do that, not over an infraction. I think that's the liability is too high for us to give chase on a child with an e-bike. So just wanted to convey that to people when they see these kids take off and we don't give chase. That is why we don't want to hurt them over an infraction. If they commit a felony, for example, and they're on an e-bike, then that changes things, right? But if it's just because they're riding fast, then we're probably going to pass on that one. And then another thing that I wanted to bring up, you mentioned the burglaries that had happened at the bars. Those happened at a different city, but we did have break-ins at Subway. And lastly, we have our traffic map that we usually talk about. For June 2025, we had 55 collisions, and the top collision locations were Magnolia and Mission Gorge with 3. As far as citations, we had 213 for the month. We did have the motor strike team last month come and help out. And the top citation locations were 9763 Mission Gorge, 7400 Mission Gorge, and 9200 Mission Gorge with 9, 9, and 6. And there's several there with 6 and another one with 5. We had 8 DUI arrests last month. And we did discuss plotting the DUI arrests in where they happened, but I was thinking about it. I was like, well, if we plot it, we're telling people where we're at. So we'd rather surprise them and not know where we're getting these arrests. So I made the decision to not list it. Sounds good. Thanks, sir. That's all I got.
All right. James, anything? Okay, great. Let's go on to communication from the public. Any speaker slips?
No speaker slips.
Anything else for us, Carl? Okay. How about you back there, young lady? You have anything for us? You're good? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I forgot one thing. I'm sorry. I just want to thank Sergeant Ortiz for being here. And a lot of these citations that are on there, he goes out there and helps his guys out with pulling people over, writing citations, which is something that is rarely seen by a supervisor. Usually they have things to do administratively in the office, and the majority of them spend time in the office taking care of that. But he has a traffic background. He used to be a motor deputy, and he's very eager to always go out there and be an additional enforcer. So I wanted to thank him publicly.
Well, thanks, and thank you. All right, then. That takes us to adjournment. How about that? And our next meeting is August 11th, 2025. Or, I mean, it was, but we canceled that because of, we're actually going to be interviewing for a new city manager. And so we can't do that at the same time. So that's actually a pretty good process that we're going through. I understand we have over 45 applicants. Over 50 now. So everybody wants to come to Santee. because we got it going on here. So, you know why? We do more due east. We're adjourned.